Right then, we're going to start diving into the more adventure-specific things now in terms of nutrition. So we're going to have a look at hiking for the day. So a day in the mountains of hiking and how we manage our nutrition for this. So we want to keep it super simple and we want to just consider nutrition for general health and well-being first of all. So we don't want to get rid of the idea of protein and fats completely and just focus on lots of carbs and sweets because that's not going to be ideal for our overall health and well-being. We need to make sure that we hit the minimum requirement for protein and fats through the day like we would any other day. The only difference is that on this day we're going to be hiking for long periods of time, which means our overall calorie expenditure, the amount of energy that we burn through the day, is going to be much higher than a normal day, which just means that we've got more option for more carbohydrates to fuel ourselves throughout that day. Okay, but we don't just want to completely smash just carbs and not have any proteins and fats for general health and well-being, because it is another day, another normal day where we want to ensure that we're healthy. How do we manage this then? How do we manage that if we're going out hiking? Well, let's talk about this scenario as if we're staying in accommodation, okay, before and afterwards. So whether that's at home, whether that's an Airbnb, hotel, whatever it may be. But we're not talking about a camping scenario at the minute. We're just talking about going out for a period of time through the day, hiking in the mountains, and either side of that you're in accommodation or a pub or whatever it may be. So when it comes to our overall basic needs, we've got to think about proteins, fats, carbohydrates. We're going to want to be consuming carbohydrates throughout the time on our hike to make sure that we're consistently fueling ourselves with and replenishing those glycogen stores that are going to be depleted as we're walking, especially up big hills. Right, so if you're going up and down big hills, those carbs are going to be depleted a lot quicker, so you're going to want to make sure that you get plenty of carbohydrates in through that day. Protein and fats, of course, we're going to want to make sure that we get those in through the day as well. Protein can be small amounts through the day, and it could be utilised at the start and at the end of the day a little bit more if you wanted to. And the reason why that's a good idea is because a lot of protein is perishable. So if you had cooked chicken, for example, and it was a red hot day, and you took it out with you, you'd have to eat it within that first hour anyway. Otherwise it might perish. Okay, if it's red hot, it might end up going off. I mean, we don't want that, we don't want to be ill. So by having protein before and after, that's a very good way of managing your protein through the day with some non-perishable protein snacks through the day. That would be a useful way of getting your protein in. And non-perishable snacks would be things like beef jerky. So obviously you wouldn't just want to be smashing huge portions of beef jerky through the day because that would probably be quite sickly and it would dehydrate you. It's so dry, isn't it? So protein snacks through the day, little portions through the day is ideal. And then big portions before and after, especially afterwards when you're wanting to recover for the day. So a big portion of meat, okay, straight afterwards would be very, very good. Fats, obviously you can get these through the day for your overall health and well-being. We need it for our immune health and hormonal regulation. So that could be in the form of your eggs in the morning and salmon. So you could have eggs and salmon with avocado on toast. Fantastic pre-hill meal. Plenty of carbs in there as well with your toast, and plenty of healthy fats and plenty of protein in there. So that'd be a good meal before going out on the hill for a nice steady walk. So you got all your fats, all your protein in there. You could also add it in at the end. So if you wanted to have some form of fish at the end, something like that, that would be absolutely fantastic. Through the day, you could snack on fats as well. So nuts and seeds have fats in them, healthy fats as well, which is absolutely spot on because you could grab that through the day. That'd be ideal. In terms of carbohydrates, what would we consume through the day? Well, general health and well-being, obviously we want to be consuming enough fibre for our digestive system. We wouldn't want to be smashing a ton of fibre through the day, because that would take a while to digest, and if we're walking up and down hills, our digestive system won't have that time to relax and digest that fibre easily. So through the day we want simpler carbohydrates, and before and after we can have those more complex fibrous carbohydrates. So beforehand, you've got your avocado, for example, that's quite high in fibre. Afterwards, when you have your chicken breast, for example, you might have a load of veg with it. So you might go to a pub, have a nice chicken roast, for example, with roast potatoes and chicken and veg, for example. You might have a lasagna with a side of salad, okay, plenty of veggies essentially. You might have a fruit platter, right? Plenty of fibre in the evening and in the morning, so pre and post, and then simple carbs through the day. What would simple carbs be through the day? We've got plenty of fruit. We've got sandwiches we could use. Obviously the filling is important because depending on how hot it is, will it perish? If you've got, like I say, protein in there, it could perish quite quickly. chicken in there could perish quite quickly. So you just need to be mindful of what you're actually having. You could consume pasties through the day. You could consume flapjacks. Okay, plenty of fruit, plenty of flapjacks, pasties, all those sorts of things throughout that day is going to fuel you with carbohydrates for your entire day. So that is the basics of fueling when you're out and about in the mountains. How regular should you be eating? Well, ideally, every hour you should be consuming something and getting it down you. So thinking back to carbohydrates for performance, you could go, obviously we're going over 3 hours of training essentially, but it's going to be a lot less intense than going out for like a long run, endurance run session, where we're specifically aiming to train and get these adaptations. It's going to be different to going out and doing an intense mountain bike ride, for example. So what we're going to want is anywhere from around 30 to 60 grams of carbohydrates every hour. So just getting plenty of carbs in each hour to keep you fueled throughout the day. Nice and simple. So a good bit of flapjack every hour would be spot on. So that's the basics of just fueling for a day out hiking. So thinking about proteins and fats before and after, because you're going to have the facilities where they're not going to perish and you can consume a lot of them and they can digest easily because you're going to be going to bed and chilling out, or you're going to be chilling in the morning at least. And then those more simpler carbohydrates throughout the day and the fibrous complex carbohydrates before and after. That's how I would break it down nice and simply. Next, we're going to go into journeying and traveling and what we should consume and how we can prep that for traveling to and from the mountains from home.